Stay right there real quick. Thank you. All right.
So, can we walk and talk?
Mhm.
So, we just interviewed the first couple people, the first 4 people, and already 2 out of those 4 people have had somebody near to them shot. The first guy, shot and killed, by the way. The first guy, he lost his father to violence, gun violence. And the second guy lost his best friend to violence right in front of him at age 13, I think he said. And the other guy was young too. And already Kristen and I were talking about the numbness. The numbness that was seen within both of them, almost as if it was just an everyday thing.
Let me get you to go ahead and tell us your first and last name.
James Broad next.
Spell your last name, James.
Broade.
All right, James, and you're 19.
Yup.
Okay, tell me why you agreed to do an interview today.
Cause I want to tell my story.
What is your story?
I don't want nobody, you know what I'm saying, sugarcoat shit. I'm gonna tell y'all what it is, you know what I'm saying? Straight up.
Okay.
I don't need my cousin, my auntie, or none of them motherfuckers to tell shit for me.
What do you want to say?
What y'all want to know?
Tell me what happened in the parking lot of that recording studio.
What happened?
What happened?
Killed that bitch ass. Shit.
Why?
Do you mind sharing a story about a personal connection you knew with someone who was a victim of violence?
Yeah, sure. It's a couple guys. My friend Omar the Truth, he was a victim of violence, black on black. Dog Brother, Ray Sean Miles.
Do you know, have a story about why they were killed?
Regular street stuff, you know.
I lost my father to violence. He was killed over on the south side near After Projects.
Last April 28th, down Beach Week, Never J Beach. Yeah, I actually was a victim of violence. You know, I actually got shot in the head last year.
Whoa.
Due to an altercation, you know, over something very petty. It could have been avoided, but I guess it didn't go that way. You know, I was actually hospitalized for about a month, but I came off on top of that.
What I learned the most from the violence episodes was how much black people actually bear, how much is on our shoulders on a day-to-day basis, and how strong we are. And I say that because I interviewed so many people, and there wasn't one of them who was like, oh no, I haven't experienced anything like that in my life. Everybody had multiple stories. They could rattle off tons of names of people who they were close to, who've been victims of gun violence. And the fact that for most of them, there wasn't any emotion behind it. It's almost as if we've been kind of used to it, you know? We've gotten so accustomed to pain and hurt that we don't even acknowledge how it affects us emotionally, mentally, spiritually anymore, and that's an issue.
Killing gonna always be, you know? It's got to be. Wars go on every day, you know what I'm saying? That's something that just always been here since, you know, the beginning of time, you know what I'm saying?
Black on black violence is a manifestation of white on black violence. And to a great extent, it is a reaction to white on black violence. America is founded on violence. America is founded on the most gross, criminal, and savage activities of any other nation.
Have you been a victim to violence, or do you know people who have fallen victim to violence?
I mean, to be real with you, I am violent.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, violence it's gonna forever be, you know what I'm saying? Judges, doctors, lawyers, everybody get paid off violence. If there wasn't no violence, there wouldn't be no job.
Explain more about what you mean about that. If there wasn't violence, there wouldn't be jobs.
I mean, it's a money thing, you know what I'm saying? Everything is controlled. From the bike police, you know what I'm saying, to the doctors, you know, everything. You know what I mean?
I never thought anybody would be like, I mean, violence is supposed to happen. It's never gonna ever end. And I mean, they may be right to a certain extent. However, I do feel like people can be smarter about their choices in life and how they perceive things. So I'm saying if, you know, I'm talking about like gang violence, I'm talking about just bloodshed for over drugs, over somebody, I don't know, somebody played music too loud next to you, and so it's people out here showing off guns on social media. I mean, I'm not saying violence is going to be, you know, wiped out completely, but I do believe that we're able to make choices, smart choices, and I think that's how violence can be decreased. It's just about stopping and thinking, is this worth it?
The reality is that until we take onus of the harm that has happened to people of African descent, that 11.9 to 12.5 million Africans were taken against their will and dispersed throughout the world. Asia, small percentage. Europe, small percentage. Large percentage in the West Indies and the Caribbean islands, and 5% of that percentage from the Caribbean to the West Indies were taken to, 13 American colonies, taken against their will, ruptured from all that they know, brought into a new environment, forced to breed like cattle, raped against their will, forced to labor to build this American system. I mean, think about that. That it's you set people up to own as property and to annihilate their existence at the same time. And then you wonder why we have violence in 2014. There has to be some connections made. Now, this doesn't mean that we as a people are not responsible for some of the things that have taken place. But I think we have to weigh in the balance our onus in what we've done as a people against ourselves, but also the systemic reality that set the stage for that.
Does the fact that reported crime, not convicted crime, reported crime, so overwhelmingly tilts toward African American men mitigate this, that reported crime, mostly by other African Americans, all right, is overwhelmingly in the young black man precincts? Does that mitigate anything?
I don't believe it does. I really don't. You have to look at the culture in which this bias is held, and you have to look at the imagery of the culture and what the popular culture has turned out in terms of the representations of people of color. Look, whenever you have a majority population, and the United States of America is in the middle of a huge shift in terms of the makeup of its population racially. And so whenever you have a majority population, the majority is always going to set the rules. And in our case, black people have traditionally, habitually, institutionally been disenfranchised and
yes, but I think it's a fact, and I want to
more than any other group.
I have to run, but I want to talk to you about this again. I want you to do a little research for me. I think it's a fact that proportionally, young black men commit far more crimes than any other group in this country, and I think that that's what is driving all of this fear on both sides. Mr. Burton, very good conversation. We'll pick it up.
We'll talk again, Bill.
We will.
We'll talk again.
You have a racist psychological character assassination that is ongoing. The continuing assassination of African people, which you're talking about here today in terms of the Post and other newspapers, the continuing assassination of African people on radio, TV, magazines, and every media is an attempt for whites to continue to justify the original crime of enslaving and abusing black people. And consequently then, as long as they can assassinate the characters of our people, as long as they can project that we are innately criminal, that we are innately inferior, they can feel justified in terms of what they have done to us and what they are doing to us and what they will do to us as a people. In order to deny their own criminality, they must then project that criminality on to other people.
What are the repercussions of our youth and young adults dying in such high volumes at a young age?
Yeah. We have nobody left to tell our story. I mean, we can use the statistic in terms of black males, but we can also use the statistic in terms of black girls and women. 1 of every 4, I mean, that's a common statistic that's always said that 1 in every 4, black girls and women will experience domestic violence in their lifetime. This is 2014. I would imagine what that statistic would be, 1 in 1 in years to come. So the repercussions are, if the continuation of this kind of genocide, whether it's external, systemic, or internal, continues, we will have no one left to tell our stories.